Hey everyone, we are going to go over some of the new V6 build 220 updates that were just released a few hours ago. So first thing I wanted to show you is if you don't know where these software and firmware updates are, you go to the internets. Here's Holley.com. We go to support, click on fuel injection, click on HP and Dominator, and at the top of the page is the newest, right? So Holley EFI V6 software build 220. It says software only. They're going to fix that in the morning. It's actually the software and the firmware that's in there. So you download this. I've made other videos on how to update your firmware. I will give you a quick look at it. So let's do this. So what we're gonna look at here is what we have changed in V6 build 203. I mean build 220. Sorry, I called it 203 because I've been playing with this for a few months. I was fortunate enough to be one of the people that gets to tinker with new stuff before it comes out. So what we are looking at here is the standard software like we've always been. And hang on one second here. Sorry. And what you'll notice at the top, the first thing that stands out to you is this button right here, which is toggle second pane. This is pretty awesome. I'm a big fan of this. So the way this works is, let's open up our ignition timing, right, by left clicking. So I just left clicked here, right? So there we go. We've got our spark table. And then let's right click on advanced. Now we have a second window. So let's just drag this Jesse on over here. And notice over here, it has populated the ICF so that you can click on whatever you want. So now if we were to left click on this, it populates this window. If we were to right click on this, it brings it over there. So if we want to go back to the base timing table, we just left click on it. There's our base timing table. So if we wanted to look at 2D per gear, we right click, and then we just right click on whatever we want. And here's spool timing. So this is one of the best parts of this, right? If you've built one of these tables before where you keep going back and forth between your base table and your timing retard when you're on the trans brake, now you can view it, you know, side by side, right next to each other. So I've been using this for a while. I'm very happy with how this functions. So you want to right click on anything and it'll bring you to the right pane. Okay, so and anything that you left click on will bring you up over here on the left hand side. So this is just a little tidbit. You can, you know, make this smaller or larger. So if you wanted to see what's on the left hand side more than what you wanted to see that's on the right hand side, you can just slide these back and forth. And you can also, a lot of people don't seem to know this, but you can also do that and shift the whole thing over. So that's the dual pane view. If you want to get rid of that, just left click on that and it's gone. Left click on it again, it'll populate back to what was just open. So if we want to, here's a big one, right? So it's inputs, outputs. This is one that I've always been annoyed by. Let's right click on EGT1, set it up, right click on EGT2, EGT3, EGT4, and we can do all of our setup stuff, and we don't have to continue to hit the back button to come back here to our inputs. Another spot that is extremely helpful for, I'm left clicking on this stuff here. We're going to go to individual cylinder, right? So if we were going to use tables for timing, right, we can right click on them, and there we make our change, right click again, make our change, so on and so forth. So the dual pane is actually a very nice function that I think is going to be utilized a lot by a lot of people. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show you. The second thing that I wanted to show you is, and there's been a lot of revisions in this. If we want, we can go over them here. Click on the revision log. So let's see, all the way at the bottom. So right there we go. They fixed the Coyote quick start. this one right here, we'll talk about it here for a minute. So I had seen a few people, and I've spoken with a few people that said that they had this phantom misfire or rev limiter happen to them, and then when they moved back to V6, it didn't happen, or V5, I'm sorry, it didn't happen anymore. I didn't really believe it for a while because I never really saw it and I never experienced it. And I never experienced it on anything with that I work with, and I work with a whole bunch of different cars, and I never really experienced it. And then somebody who that I'm friends with, who tunes a lot of cars, he had sent me a global file, and it was pretty distinct. It looked like a rev limiter, a misfire, and it got me to looking, and I didn't see it at all in any of my own stuff. And then, of course, after I kind of dismissed it and said, man, I think you got something else going on, it happened to me. It wasn't a big deal on my application, but it could have been a big deal for somebody else. So if you, let's go ahead and look at that data log. So you can see what that potentially was. Let's see. I can't remember exactly when it happened. I believe it was, nope. Sorry, we're gonna have to go through this a little bit, until we find it. I think it was this one. Nope, I was wrong there. If you notice something here, we're gonna get to that in a minute. There is I can't believe I can't find this dang thing. Might have been, there it is. Nope, that ain't it. That's not it either. Anyway, you'd see a sharp drop in RPM. It looked like a misfire. Anyway, that a couple people had mentioned it, and there it is. That's her. There she is. So when I saw this after the run, I said, "What the heck is that about?" And immediately it jogged. It hit me, and I said, "God dang! I guess I was full of it when I said that somebody else had a problem and it wasn't Holley related." Well, apparently they'd found something in the code, and they had fixed it, so it's fixed. I've been running the beta version of this fix, this revision, for a little while now, and this has not come back. So again, it only happened to me one time, but it has not come back. So anyway, that is the phantom misfire rev limit, if somebody's asking. All right, this right here, fixed an error that would sometimes allow closed loop to stay active while rev limiters were active. This I did experience. If you allowed closed loop to stay on, so if you programmed closed loop to be enabled, say at 1,000 RPM, it's supposed to shut off when you're on the rev limiter. Occasionally, it would not, and it would stay on and active while on the rev limiter. I believe that this log may have it in here as well. Let's see here. Fuel, there we go. Close loop. So if you think that you're having this issue, just look at what your actual closed loop is doing, right? So right here, closed loop is off as we tab over. And now closed loop is making a change, right? So it's a very minute change, 1%, -1, 0, 0, -1, and then it's back to 0. Well, we're on the rev limiter here, okay? We're not 100% on the rev limiter. And if we look at, I don't have ignition timing in here. If we look at ignition timing, I started yanking timing out of this thing pretty dramatically while it's on the trans brake. And you can see here where it lulls and it actually comes off of the chip completely because I pulled timing out of it too fast, right? So yes, we would expect closed loop to be doing something in here, but if you were having the issue where closed loop was actually doing something dramatic, they got a fix for that as well. So they fixed that in this revision of the software. So yeah, those are the main ones. Then they also fixed a bug that would cause the cam ignore option to not initialize with the 58X stuff. And 24X, 60-2, 24-1 in Chrysler. So they added Coyote Quick, or they fixed Coyote Quick Start, or they added Coyote Quick Start, and drive-by-wire entering into limp mode. So those were the fixes that were in Build 220. Now, as for the additions, so for the software updates, let's find it here. There you go. So dual pane we went over. Open Tune Dialog now has the option to set a default directory. I'm going to show you this here in a minute. It's actually pretty nice. Vertical markers for drag strip times. I'm going to show you how to do that. And a missing tooth diagram for custom ignition setups. This is awesome. Big fan of this one. This does not pertain to the race trans stuff. This is for like 4L80s and whatnot. And they also added rife sensors to various drop downs for IO. You know, they already have the scaling already in there for rife sensors. So like we can look at that quick. If we go into inputs and let's just enable this one, configure, and we've got no, we don't. They're in here somewhere. I don't know. They should be. Oh, they might be the temp ones. Hang on. So, if you can't tell, I'm really tired. There you go. Rife liquid temp. So, there's a few other rife sensors scattered throughout here. Here's the high intake air temp, low intake air temp. So they're slowly adding more and more rife sensors to the software. So let's go back to the rest of the revision log. So we covered this. We're not going to cover this because I don't have any globals with 4L80 stuff. This right here, this is really cool. Added missing tooth diagram to custom ignition setups. So if we go in here and we go to our ignition parameters, let's make this a little easier to see. Close this. All right, so we go to custom configure. Bingo. Look at this, a little wheel. So this is something that troubles a lot of people during setup and at first fire up and whatnot. So what this is doing is showing you that this is where you need to put your crank sensor for a 12-1. So here's the -1 part, right? We're missing the magnet right here. And then first magnet, second magnet, bing, because we're on the falling edge. So watch, if we move this to rising, and move this to TDC tooth number 4, look at that. So we we can change, if we change where our TDC tooth number is or our timing offset, it will shift it, right? Digital falling, digital rising, doesn't matter. Timing offset, we go 15 degrees, it's shifting it. If we go back to 0, it's shifting it. If we go back to -8, it's moving it there. And then we go to falling. And then obviously you move your TDC tooth number. So it makes life a little bit easier when it comes to setting up one of these crank trigger sensors. So same thing, let's look at a 36-1. So a whole bunch more teeth, right? So if we move the TDC tooth number to 6, notice that this is where it's got to be. And if we do a timing offset of say 10 degrees, got to go that way. And if we go -10, it goes that way. So this was always this has always been a struggle for a lot of people, and I'm really happy that they put this in here. So let's see, what else do we got? We've got, hopefully you guys understand that stuff. Now, what else is in the revision log? Vertical markers. So this is one that has also made me pretty dang happy. So let's look at a data log, right? So let's just open up a data log and let's go to something that I haven't modified yet and put in there. So we will go to, where's the last place? Here we go. Test one, there we go. Okay, so here's a data log, right? Now, we already know how to zero our time, but if you don't remember how to zero your time, ZA automatically set 0 time. And then we can set this when boost time is greater than 0. Okay, notice we've got a timer right here. We've got a time stamp right here, and it corresponds to when we let go of the trans brake. So let's go into File, Properties, Drag Race. So this has always been here. These properties have always been here. You've always been able to key this stuff in to keep track of what you were doing, right? So we can just label whatever we want. This one, I was on shady side. We were in the right lane, and it was test 1. I don't know what any of this stuff was. This run sucked, but let's just say 111, 3.05, and like 4.80 at, I don't know, 155. There we go. And okay. Notice here where it says, do you want it to show increments and then show on the graph, right? So hit OK. And now we've got vertical markers to let us know where we were in that run, right? So if we look, if we zoom in, there we are. There's the 60 foot, right? So now, mind you, this is all based off of boost time being at 0.00. There's the 60 foot, there's the 330, and there's the 1/8 mile, right? So, and obviously if you had quarter mile, it'd be out here, but we don't do that. So, so yeah, it's kind of neat that you can add those properties in there. If you want to keep those properties in there, you need to come up here and go File and Save, and it will save your 0 time, right? And it will also save all of your properties that you've keyed in there, but you have to go File, Save, or Save As if you wanted to rename it something else, right? The thing you need to know about this is it's all based off of your 0 time. So if we go to ZA and 0 time when boost time is greater than 1 second, right? Now it shifted all of it way out here. It shifted it out 1 full second, right? So make sure that your 0 time is where you want your 0 time to be, right? So now you can also use the Z tab, right? So this is another way that you can do this. I like to do this. I grab the VPS X-axis. That's when right where I clicked is really where the car reacted, right? So it probably hasn't even broken the beams yet, but if we look up here, we're at 0.05. If we were to tab, I'd be willing to bet that this is where the car actually broke the beams. That's typically, it takes about 0.08 for my personal car to break the beams and leave, right? So if we highlight that area and then we hit the Z button, it's going to say, would you like to set it at the current point that you're clicked on? Hit yes. And now we have a pretty accurate 0 time right here, right? And our splits. So that's a really cool feature that I'm very happy that they added into here. So use it, save it. You'll like it. You'll like it a lot. This one, so open tune dialog now that the option has been set to a default directory. So you've probably, if you've played with Holley enough, you've probably gone to open global file and it brings you to the last folder you were in, right? So if you know that you are always going to be here in this folder, you can set current as default, right? And then say cancel. Let's go file, open global file. Well, there we are. We're currently there. So let's just close it out right there, or let's open up this one, right? and whoops, open global file. Notice it brought us back to where I created the default, right? So if we go up one, we're back to where we started. So this is a little bit nicer so that you can, always go back to the same folder that you were looking at from the last time, right? So we close it. If we set this as our current as default, we can go in here and we can open this global up. And when we go here to open up a global, it brings us back. So we don't have to go back to global files and then, each individual folder that you've created, it automatically brings you back to what your current default is, right? So this is my set current as default. And now it will always bring me back to this. So this is, there's some pretty cool updates here in this. I suggest everybody to update to this. Works well, and you will enjoy the split screen and the data log markers and all the other little minutiae that's in there. That word is for Ryan and Shannon. They know what I'm talking about. All right. Talk to you later.